Before we break down the latest NFL draft prospect rankings at wide receiver from the Athletic Dane Brugler, as a reminder, we will have more NFL coverage for you right here on the channel. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv, or just press that big red button that's available. Let's break down the top wide receivers in this class. First up is Tetairoa McMillan. I think I pronounced that incorrectly, but close enough. The Arizona wide receiver. I was surprised to see Dane put him at number 1 on my list. I have a different number 1 we'll get to here in just a little bit. But McMillan's awesome. I want to make that very clear. Estimated listed at 6'5", 210. The body control and and just catch radius is wildly impressive. And even with, extra catch radius normally means tougher catch opportunities that can sometimes lead to deceptive, more drops. He dropped 2 passes all season on 130 targets. He is a very fun player at Arizona. I am a fan of his game. We don't have that many 6'4", 6'5" wide receivers these days. League sometimes getting a little bit smaller, a little bit faster. I want to see him add some mass. 6'5", 210 is a little bit thin, but I am a big fan of his game. Develop your routes, become a little bit less stiff, as challenging as that can be when you're that tall and leggy. He is going to be a first-round pick, barring something shocking happening this year. Now, my number 1 is Luther Burden over at Missouri. A little bit of a more smaller player, 5'11", 210. Dane says he's got Jamar Chase flashbacks with him, and I'm totally on board with that. He's one of 5 FBS receivers last year with 22 20-plus yard catches. He is a dynamic threat over the middle of the field. Get the ball in his hands, and good things tend to happen. He was mostly a slot receiver. I'm not too concerned about that. I love Burden's game. He is a playmaker. Teams need playmakers, and he offers that. Travis Hunter at Colorado, who I think will be on Dane's receiver and his cornerback list, which is kind of crazy. We'll come back to that more in depth. 6 foot and 1/8, 181 is the verified measurements Dane has there. Fantastic ball skills that shows up on both sides of the field, both offense and defense. He's really good once the ball's in his hands. He makes great catches. He is a legitimate wide receiver and a legitimate corner prospect. The amount of snaps he played, even with missing time last year due to injury, is insane. That level of stamina is pretty damn shocking. He is a little bit undersized. He's not the biggest guy. I think the strength is a question mark there. But he played 100-plus snaps in 7 of his 9 games last year. He played 162 against Stanford. There's going to be disagreements on where Travis Hunter should play, but there's no doubt he can play. So where would you put Travis Hunter if you drafted him? WR for wide receiver, CB for cornerback, or I kind of want to try him at both. Maybe I'm crazy. Where would you put him? It's the pinned comment on today's video. The ad comes on the YouTube side. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Number 4, Isaiah Bond out of Texas. The Alabama transfer has fantastic speed. He is going, I think, take over the Xavier Worthy deep threat role that hopefully gets better results than what we saw at times with Quinn Ewers throwing the ball there. Despite the speed and agility, kind of like other prospects we've seen, the after-the-catch stuff wasn't great. Now, maybe a part of that was the Bama offense. He'll get more involved in some short area stuff that allows him to be more dynamic after the catch, but with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell gone at Texas, Bond has a chance to make it another first-round pick at the spot for the Longhorns. Emeka Egbuka, who is just not the same high-end, flashy athlete, dynamic game breaker of wow, what a freak. Although he's a good athlete, don't get me wrong. This is a route runner. This is a reliable playmaker who's just under 6'1", 203. I think viewed as the consensus top senior prospect among wide receivers this year. Played a lot in the slot last year. I would like to see him get more work on the outside this upcoming season. I'm curious how much Jeremiah Smith steals some targets, because he's going to be so good. That's the 5-star, by the way, Ohio State brought in. There's not the same size, speed package as other guys in this class, but if you're looking for just a solid, good, number 2, I think Egbuka can be that. Elic Ayomanor, Ayomanor, I think I got that one right. Stanford. You might not have heard much of him because it's Stanford and they were bad last year. But if you watch the Colorado game, the man was insane. Despite not good quarterback play for the Cardinal, at 6'2", 210, and a high school state sprint champion, which is, a good combo to have there, he balled out. He had 294 yards against Colorado alone. I think there is route running work to be done, but the Canadian-born prospect is really good, and I think one of the more underrated players in this year's NFL draft class. We shall see what happens there with Elic, but he is a very good player, and shocker, once again, a good wide receiver class overall. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down closer it gets to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and of course their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Maybe you want to go to a Reds game and the Reds are going to be bad this year. I guess are bad as the trade deadline here, of course, is underway and they're selling. Or whatever game you want to go to, whatever's local for you, Game Time is the place to get those tickets. Keep an eye out for zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. Keep your eye out for flash deals as well. Save as much as possible with Game Time. In fact, they're going to give you $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today for the lowest price for last-minute tickets guaranteed. Number 7 is Sam Brown, the Miami Hurricanes wide receiver, another transfer on this list. He began his career at Houston, West Virginia, then Houston, now at Miami, part of the transfer portal dynamic additions they've made this past offseason. Good size, just under 6'2", 184, offers some speed. I was a little surprised to see Sam Brown quite this high on this list, but Dane called him, quote, an underrated senior prospect. So I think that was, a projection, which of course is involved for all this stuff. Now we're going to get to Dane's top 40 senior wide receivers, and then on top of that, his top 12 underclassmen. So we got a lot of receivers to get to. Who did Dane Brugler leave off his list? Sound off for me in the comments section of today's show. Because we have 40 prospects here, we're going to broad stroke these a lot. Bru McCoy, I am intrigued by. He's had his own transfer portal drama over the years. I want to see if he can be steady and consistent with a chance to have a big breakout year at Tennessee as the number one guy there. Jayden Higgins should not be slept on at Iowa State. He's got some good size. He's almost 6'4". Jalen Lane is sub 5'9", but he's a fun slot receiver. We'll come back to Torrey Horton, by the way, in a second. I will make note that Robert Thomas on this list here at number 7. This list, of course, was done before he got himself arrested facing child cruelty charges. So big asterisk there. Let's just leave it at that. Pair of Ole Miss receivers, Trey Harris, then Antoine Wells Jr., who was at South Carolina, got banged up, then transferred. He had a big year a year ago. Savion Williams, another big receiver, listed at almost 6'4", 228. Got some size there. And there's a good X class. The one name I want to focus a bit more on here is Torrey Horton, who had some, Power 4, I guess we'll call it now, transfer offers. He's put up great numbers back-to-back years at Colorado State. Over 1,000 yards in each of those 2 seasons. He is a very good football player. I kind of thought he might turn pro this year. Chose to go back. He's got day 2 ability written all over him. All right, other receivers, some good size in Caden Prather at Maryland, DeCorian Clark at UTSA. Jalen Royals, we'll see how UTSA handles the drama they're facing over there, but he's got maybe slot receiver ability. Let's go more in depth on him here, then we'll come back to this list. 71 catches last year for 1,000 yards. Not a household name. It's Utah State. I wouldn't expect you guys to be watching a bunch of Utah State games. If you do, you're a sicko, and you're just like me, but Royals is a damn good football player. The other Virginia Tech receiver, Daquan Felton, 6'4", by the way, so again, we've got size. Rock Taylor, who's got a rocked-up frame, which I think makes it pretty accurate there. Moose Muhammad got a chance to have a big year for Texas A&M. Texas Tech's Joshua Kelly, Taj Felton over at Maryland, Jalen Noel, again, a slot receiver at Iowa State. Let's think will be a slot in the NFL. Keandre Lambert-Smith. Auburn's got a bunch of good receivers. Most of them are not draft eligible. KLS is the Penn State transfer, but I have big question marks about their quarterback play. So we'll see how that all plays out. How many wide receivers do you think go in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section of today's show. Donovan Green over at Wake Forest, he'll be there, number 1. Curious how things balance out at Oklahoma from a target share perspective. We'll get to a different one. Andrew Anthony, former Oklahoma receiver Theo Weiss is the quote-unquote other wide receiver at Missouri. Colby Young's got great size, by the way, 6'3" and change, 218. Jacoby George, one of multiple Miami wide receivers on this list. He's got slot receiver. There's targets to be spread around at LSU. Kyron Lacey, one name to monitor. Ja'Cory Brooks transferred from Alabama to Louisville. Isaac Tasala is probably going to be the number 1 receiver for Arkansas. Bo Collins over at Notre Dame. Kanata Mumpfield, again, a bit more of a smaller receiver. Silas Bolden transferred from Oregon State to Texas. He is very small. He is also very fast. Winston Wright, one of the better group of 5, I think we'd still call it that, prospects. Jamori Macklin is the other Kentucky wide receiver. Elijah Badger, someone's got to make catches at Florida. Xavier Restrepo is undersized, but he was thought pretty good last year for Miami. Kind of surprised only at 39. Julian Fleming transferred from Ohio State to Penn State, former 5-star. Untapped potential, though. There's also a 35, Tez Johnson. Now, he transferred from Troy to Oregon. He's just not big. Dane's got him as the verified size, 5'10", 160. Very small. Very small player. He's also super fast. The Oregon offense this upcoming season is, without a doubt, going to be very, very fun to watch this upcoming season. So I am excited to see how that all plays out. Let's go to the top underclassmen wide receiver. So obviously, 5 of the guys we mentioned earlier. And also Deion Burks, now over at Oklahoma. And he's not the biggest guy. He's 5'10", 195 is the listed size there. He was at Purdue. And I think he is primed for a massive breakout season. I've seen him in the first round of mock drafts, and I get it. He's one of a couple different transfer wide receivers that I think are worth monitoring. I am excited to see how Burks fares this upcoming season. And I think your main guys to be the top receiver drafted are McMillan, Hunter, and LB. So pick one. TM, TH, LB, or if you think it's somebody else, type in O for other. Just be sure to mention who that other prospect ends up being and get bonus points by dropping that name for me in the comments section. Let's talk transfers, right? Oregon wide receiver Evan Stewart left A&M, goes to the Ducks. Dylan Gabriel, Evan Stewart, Tez Johnson might be overpowered in CFB 25 from an offensive perspective. You're banking on the potential here. The production has not been great at A&M. I think there are reasons and there are excuses. And I think the Stewart production lack thereof probably falls more into the reasons category as opposed to excuses. We mentioned Andrew Anthony at Oklahoma. We mentioned Deion Burks. There's also Nick Anderson, who's a bigger body listed at. So again, listed is sometimes not always accurate. 6'4", 215. Oklahoma should have some success with Jackson Arnold this year feeling it out. J. Michael Sturdivant has been a fun player for UCLA. Curious how that offense just looks overall. I'm a little bit anxious about the Bruins this upcoming season, but he is an under-the-radar prospect. Glad that Dane put him on there at number 9. Go to number 10 on this list. That is Elijah Surratt at Indiana. A transfer, by the way. Good size, 6'2", 210. Nathan Rourke will be throwing in balls this upcoming season. We are now in he was good in CFB 25. Maybe he's good in NFL draft prospect territory. Barian Brown is stupid good in CFB 25 because he's just fast and he gets open downfield. And that's valuable and also valuable in real life. Maybe not quite to the same extent, but still applies there. I'm glad Dane put him on there. And then another LSU wide receiver, Chris Hilton Jr. As long as the offense isn't bad, somebody's going to step up and emerge for LSU this upcoming season.